Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, one of the things that I heard at the last open meeting of the DEC and the public were complaints about tournaments coming into this area. Now, the DEC is very, very aware that it's a whole new ball game in the St. Lawrence River, Lake Ontario, and even Oneida Lake and Cayuga. Cayuga's become a new sports center for bass fishing that people had sort of hadn't discovered until recently. And so now there's more tournaments going there. And when you have national tournaments come into any of these areas, it's only the beginning of getting people from other states to take interest, because people follow this group. They follow this sport. They follow the top anglers. And when they see one of these top anglers be successful in an area, come in with a smile on his face and winning bass totals, they want to go to the same place. But there's a lot of people in our area that may not understand why we are bringing the tournaments here. They may not understand that it actually is benefiting them in ways that they're not aware of, in economic prosperity that sort of absorbs into the whole area. And if you're successful, then the whole area becomes more dynamic and more successful. This is our goals. But for fishermen that don't want other fishermen out there, and when you got a 100-boat tournament, that's a lot of fishermen out there, they resent this. Guides have a whole different perspective on fishing than the tournament fishermen do. But I guess from my point of view, and I really try to keep open-minded, and I think it's the most important thing of all, to be aware of how all these people feel. Of course, when you've got 200 of the top anglers in the world sort of concentrating on your area, they're going to put the most pressure on these fish of anyone, because they got the newest technological equipment. They got the fastest boats that are on the water. I mean, they can travel, they can go, they can see the fish before they catch them. So they're most likely to catch the most of these big fish. And all these things we got to be aware of. So some of the questions for us, being us, the people that take part in this, whether we're fishermen, whether we're biologists, whether we're the law enforcement group of the DEC, we are us. And the questions before us: should we change the regulations? Should we change the number of fish that can be kept? In other words, we're allowed to keep 5 fish daily during the open legal system. So what if we reduce that? I shouldn't keep saying we, but I'm just going to say we're all part of the same problem. What if we reduce that to 3 fish? How will that affect the future of the development of this area using fishing as the catalyst? Because will the tournaments be willing? Will the tournament leaders, the directors of these big national tournaments, be willing to compromise and say, okay, we'll go along with a 3 bass limit? I'm not so sure. I don't know. And I have to communicate with some of these leaders more. And should we take the incentive? Do we have the right to set our own standards for tournaments in this state? I think a lot of people would say yes. We're hosting these people, but if we host them, we have certain regulations that we want to impose, just like they have regulations that they ask us to meet for them to come here to our area. So all these questions have really, really come to dominate our thoughts. The other one that we haven't really talked about is, should the legal system, should the open system be changed, the season? In other words, right now, bass season is closed until June 15th. But should we extend that? Should we extend it another month and not allow catch and keep or even catch season to be in place until the middle of July? By the middle of July, 80% of the bass have spawned. That's the findings in the St. Lawrence River. So if that is the case, then maybe we shouldn't open season until then. And then the other part of this whole argument, or whatever you want to call it, is how big a role does catching these fish during the period of their spawn, how big a role does this play in decimating a population. I mean, you're going to get different opinions every place. In the South and in most other states, there's not even a closed season. People not only are allowed to fish at this time of the year, but one of their favorite ways to do it is to see down in the water, whether it's with graphs, whether it's with scopes, whether it's with whatever, and to try to catch the fish off the bed, to actually present your lure on that bed and make the fish take it. That's a common way of fishing in most areas. And so we have to deal with that dilemma as well. So what really has come from these meetings is more questions than answers. And that's okay. If you don't have what we like to call facts, and I know facts are always changing, but if we don't have as much information as we possibly can get, then we can't really make and set policies that are going to help us all in the way that we need to. So information is critical, and this meeting is the first of hopefully others that enable both sides to gain more information about the very thing that we so disagree upon. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.